What's good, family? Smash that like button and subscribe. Oh no. Oh no, your man's Tyson Scary is in absolute meltdown right now. He's in camp meltdown. It's all little signs are adding up right now. You man saw the video I put out yesterday. Ricky Hatton, Tyson Scary inside Donny came out and said, listen, looking at Tyson Fury's behaviour, he's falling apart at the seams. He's losing the plot. Yeah? And that's from Ricky Hatton. Listen, if anyone's got 10 out of 10 experience, if anyone knows what falling apart looks like, Mr. 8-Ball on the hotel counter. Yeah? If anyone knows what falling apart in lifetime looks like, it's Ricky Hatton. Do you know what I'm saying? He knows exactly what it looks like. Let's not forget, we're not talking, well, YB, you know, Ricky Hatton was a tennis player. No, Ricky Hatton knows exactly what it's like to be a boxer and to be falling apart. No doubt. He came out and said, Tyson Scary, from his behaviour, he looking like he's going to retire. He looking like the AJ fight ain't never going to happen. He's looking like the Wilder fight ain't never going to happen. He checking out. Yeah? Ricky Hatton knows. Let's not forget as well, Ricky Hatton's had very similar ailments as Tyson Scary, i.e. the weight gain, the dipping in and out training, the sniff, almost identical. They're both from Manchester, I think. Either way, it don't matter. Facts are the facts here. Ricky Sniff knows exactly what's going through Tyson Scary's head. And I'm not being funny here, yeah? He ain't even speculating. He's in the camp. And he's worried. Now, I told you, man, I got off the blower yesterday to Ricky. And Ricky said, YB, I've been watching your videos and you're 100% correct. You're falling apart. Yeah, he don't want no parts of Wilder or AJ. Bottom line, he gonna retire. So he can come on BT Sport and talk about, Deontay Wilder. Come, what the belts had been? The belt had been. Obviously, because when Fury retires, he'll be stripped. And then he'll be able to go on BT Sport and talk about how Wilder got the belt out of the bin. Same as AJ. When AJ pushed Vlad's wig back for him properly. Yeah? Not how you think he did it, because Fury, let me tell you something right now, yeah? Fury, let me tell you something right now. You didn't push Vlad's wig back. You went 50-50 with Vlad. You went NyQuil with Vlad. Put everyone to sleep with Vlad. AJ pushed his wig so far off, he didn't want a rematch. Vlad didn't want, listen, AJ pushed Vlad's wig so far back, it was structurally changed forever. Yeah? AJ changed the genetic code in Vlad's body. Because what we do know is, before AJ got in there with Vlad, yeah, Vlad he wanted all parts of a free $20-30 million. Am I or am I not correct? Before AJ fought Vlad was all game for $20 or $30 million. 2-2s. AJ gets in there and gives Vlad the Dominic Brazil, yeah? Gives him the alien thing, the altered DNA thing. And next thing you know, Mr. Vlad, who had his hands wide open for free $20 million, he didn't want no $20 million. It weren't worth it to him. Eddie Hearn said, listen Vlad, $30 million to get back in there with AJ. He said, listen, keep your $30 million. It's not worth it for my health. Yeah? Conversely, with you, Vlad was rock hard for you, Fury, yeah? About belts out the bin. Anyway, let's get back on topic here. Got waylaid. But it's all relevant because, listen, it all adds up. Oh, YB, what's Fury's moist performance against Vlad got to do with this topic? Well, it's all linked because the reason why Fury's struggling psychologically, it's little things like this. It's things like the sparring session where AJ turned him over. It's things like AJ whooping Vlad into retirement properly. Yeah? Boxers in particular, they've got big egos. And think about it. Fury fought Vlad, and Vlad was rock hard for him. Vlad chased Fury into retirement. Vlad, the 41-year-old man, chased Tyson, the prime Don, into retirement. Do you understand? See how crazy that is. Fury, it's like a circle of life. Fury got chased into retirement by the old man. So Fury's seen that happen. Fury knows how it felt to be chased by a 41-year-old man into retirement. At that point in time, Fury, whilst he was betting on Charles Martin to beat AJ, he felt quite comfortable. He thought, well, yeah, Vlad's chased me into retirement, but listen, Charles Martin's going to fill AJ in, so I've got nothing to worry about, if that makes sense. Yes, I'm 10 out of 10 scary to fight Vlad, but listen, AJ ain't never going to go nowhere near Vlad, and if he does, he'll get knocked out. Because, like I said, your man's Tyson Scary was betting 10 grand on Charles Martin to beat AJ. 2-2s. Tyson Scary, the Don, who psychologically was dealing with the fact he got chased into retirement by a 41-year-old man, who himself was on the brink of retirement. By the time AJ fought Vlad, yeah, he'd been dealing with that for 2 years. You understand? Tyson Fury had been, he'd been simmering with the thoughts of, that's quite traumatic as a boxer, yeah? Imagine as a boxer, think of all the ways you think of retiring. What's the last way you think of retiring? I don't know about you, man, yeah, but the last way I'd think of retiring would be being chased into retirement by a 41-year-old man. Yeah, which is the case, because Vlad chased him off. Yeah, Fury didn't want no parts of Vlad. 2-2s. The man who gave Tyson Fury long-lasting psychological trauma between 2015 and 2017. That man, Vlad, who was haunting Fury, who haunted him into retirement, gets his wig pushed back. His wig pushed back by the by Africanulese, yeah? Africanulese pushed the man who had Tyson Scary fully, listen, as I've explained, I don't need to keep going over it. The bottom line is, yeah, AJ did dastardly things to the man who was haunting Fury. So just imagine now, Fury already ran off into retirement for 2 years because of Vlad. So what do you think psychologically the man who murked the man who pushed you into retirement, what do you think he's going to do to you? I'm hoping it's making sense to you, man, now. I really am. Because I can't put it no clearer than that. Vlad chased Fury into retirement for 2 years. No doubt. That man, Vlad, who pushed the prime Fury into retirement, then himself gets retired fully. 30. Vlad was 30 retired by AJ. And now, Fury for the last 3 or 4 years has had to deal with the psychological trauma of being stalked by AJ, who is, as I've explained, AJ is the man who beat the man, who put you into retirement. That, I don't know about you, Eb, but me even just explaining this, it's got me feeling scared. Just the thought of that. Just to think of it. A 41-year-old man chases you into retirement, and then 2-2s. Some next Don comes along, because Fury thought that Vlad was the ultimate. He thought, yeah, there's no way AJ's going to get past him. AJ not only got past him, but AJ did something that Fury couldn't dream of doing, and that was retire Vlad. Fury ran away from Vlad, never mind retired him. AJ retired him. AJ whooped him so completely, he didn't want no $20 million. Vlad could have just turned up and jumped on the floor. He didn't want it. He said, I heard the phone call. He said, Eddie, keep the $20 million. I don't want it. I don't want nothing to do with AJ. And now it's coming around circle now. It's all starting to make sense. Yeah? If we know for a fact Fury ran off into retirement because of Vlad, well, it's no big surprise now what we're seeing go down with AJ. And obviously Wilder. Wilder's more of a sideman, but Wilder has been linked in because of the psychological torment from AJ. Because Wilder himself is now a stepping stone to AJ, if that makes sense. Fury has now made a psychological link between Wilder and AJ, in as much as, wait a minute, the quicker I fight Wilder means the quicker I have to fight AJ. Hence, I better not fight Wilder. You understand? I hope it's all starting to make sense to you, man, now. Because I've worked it out 100%. It's all making sense now. Fury can't fight Wilder because when he does, then the AJ fight is that much closer. So he has to shut down all paths leading to AJ. No doubt. And that's where we come to today with this new breaking news. Yeah, Tyson Scary falling apart. And he's brought in Freddy Roach. Yeah, hired Freddy Roach to come into the camp. Why? Because like I said, Fury's head is falling apart. Like Ricky Hatton's already told us, man. He's psychologically falling apart. So what Fury's doing now is he's trying to cling on to some sort of stability. Panicking. He needs familiar faces. Yeah, when people are suffering with certain mental traumas, they say it's good, like dementia and whatnot. Yeah, they say, listen, it's good for people to see people they know. Yeah, talk about popular events in their life, etc., etc. You best believe Tyson Fury is bringing in Freddy Roach on the basis that it brings him back to a better time. Yeah, when the AJ fight was years off, nowhere near. When Freddy Roach was there in the corner with Ben Davidson. That's what's happening right now. Fury's falling apart 100%. And I think what's happened is Fury has lost respect with his trainer, the Kronk shill, because he's not the real Kronk. Yeah, he ain't no Manny Stewart. Having seen how things have gone down in that camp over the last few months with my man, I can't remember his name, whatever his name is, he's got the chains on, he's got the shirt unbuttoned. Manny Stewart's turning in his grave, watching this foolishness go down. I mean, as much as Ben Davison is a talisman for the state of boxing training, that Don, Sugar Smith, yeah, Sugar Smith Don, Sugar Smith looking ass, he really is also a talisman of boxing trainers, or the devolution of boxing trainers, because even those who come from good stock, allegedly, like Sugar Smith, yeah, Sugar Smith, listen, Sugar Smith, you took Manny Stewart's name and brand and just skeeted all over it. No respect, you got no shame. Yeah? What are you doing with your shirt unbuttoned and chains on your neck, bouncing on the tables with Tyson Fury? So it's no shock now. I'm sure there's going to be people saying, oh, YB, Fury's showing no respect for Sugar Smith. Listen, Sugar Smith, you lost the respect. It's no shock now. Fury's begging for some stability. You were supposed to be that. Unfortunately, all Fury associates you with now is the sniff. And getting bang on it. Don't get me wrong. When Fury goes on a bender, I'm sure you'll be the first person he'll call. But when it comes to this boxing game, where Fury's trying to get his head together, he needs some sort of stability. And you've broken that trust and that bond. Now, the fighter-trainer relationship is so special, and that's what 2021 trainers don't understand. This isn't a normal relationship. It's got to be built on much more than just, yeah, well, we're good mates and we can have a jolly. I mean, look at Ben Davison. Ben Davison epitomises this attitude of, oh, well, we're good mates. Ben Davison just wants to be your mate. Not only does he not know what he's doing, he just wants to be your mate. Yeah, he reminds me of almost like a motherly figure. He just wants to be your mate and ultimately hope you're all right. Yeah, he's like a concerned mother goose. That's it. As long as you're all right, one of them ones. He ain't got no technique. He ain't got no strategy. He just wants to make sure you don't take no risk and you get out of there in one piece. Yeah, which is not the point in boxing, in my opinion. Getting out in one piece, that's really. That for me is target 6 or something. Target 8. It's not number 1 target. Because if you're focusing on getting out there in one piece, you ain't focusing on the process of what needs to be done. But anyway, the point is, Sugar Smith, you have shot. You've shot yourself. Yeah, everything you thought you was is gone, and that's why now Tyson Scary's begging Freddy Roach to be dragged into the camp because you've lost it. I don't know what you was thinking. Oh yeah, let's get turned up together. Yeah, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put matching shirts on and we can wear them unbuttoned. You are a 50-year-old man. What are you doing with your shirt unbuttoned and a chain on? Get serious, you muppet. And now you're gonna feel embarrassed, ain't you? Now you feel shameful. Oh man, you know. Why is Tyson Fury? Why does he need Freddy Roach? You best believe he needs Freddy Roach. He needs some stability and a proper actual trainer. Fury's begging for some guidance right now. He's going through it. Yeah? I told you, man, months ago, AJ is the best analogy to describe AJ as it pertains to Fury would be genuinely Freddy Krueger. Yeah? Freddy Krueger haunts your nightmares. AJ is Freddy Krueger to Tyson Fury. He stays in Fury's nightmares. Not even in his nightmares. He's in his dreams 24/7. He can't sleep. That's why Fury's unhinged. That's why he's begging for some sort of guidance now. He's going through it. He's losing the plot. And I think it's quite amazing that it's all coming around circle now. So you man, wait a minute. 1 minute he's got C19. Next minute he's hiring a new head trainer or some more additional support. It really does tell us the true story here, what's gone on here. Now, I'm not sure whether Wilder are colluding, but what we do know is that Fury is certainly, he's going through it, psychologically speaking. People said that he got whooped in sparring. I think that's highly likely. People said that his training camp wasn't going well. I'm almost certain of that. Because, number one, I saw the evidence. I've seen the pictures of him getting sparked around the ring. We've all seen the photos. I've never seen Fury like that. So what's happened is he's been turned over in sparring. Yeah? Some next Don rolled the legs off him in sparring. At which point he panicked and thought, oops, Wilder's training hard and my confidence is low. You got to remember as well, again, think about the wider history here. What do we know? Ben Davidson lulled Tyson Fury into a false sense of security, playing with his gloves, yeah, in sparring, giving him fake power. And Ben Davidson said at the time, oh, we're only doing this because we want to help his confidence. He's got low confidence. So we know Fury already struggles with confidence. Now, coming into this camp, July 24th camp, he was on a bender with his trainer. Does that inspire confidence to you? You're about to go to war. You've only got 6 weeks to train, and the man leading you to war is a dude you was just banging sniff with and going wild on the tables with your shirt unbuttoned. I don't think so. Yeah? And that's why Fury's begging Freddy Roach to come in. Begging him for some guidance, because he needs it right now. And as I was about to explain. So he was getting turned over in sparring. He doesn't have that natural boost that Ben Davison was giving him playing with the gloves. Also, he doesn't feel like he's got a leader. I mean, if you speak to soldiers, they say that having a good leader, you can go, if you have a good, or the difference a great leader makes, people want to follow it. It inspires people to follow a great leader. People will follow great leaders to their demise. No doubt. Bad leaders. Sugar Smith, he a bad leader, unfortunately. That's why Fury's begging to bring in a true general, Freddy Roach, begging him to come in. Yeah? So this really is a massive circle that goes back 20 years now. You've got Ben Davison letting Fury get off on people with the dodgy gloves. And also that links back into this new Wilder fight, the next Wilder fight, July 24th. And what's happened here? What else do we know? So Fury gets turned over in sparring. He doesn't have a leader who's inspired him. Turned over in sparring. Can't play with the gloves. Also, the actual July 24th date, what do we know about that? Well, if he has been doing anything funny with his gloves in the fight, he knows now the cat's out the bag here. It's very unlikely he's going to be able to get away with anything like that again. Because this time, if Wilder has any brain, which he probably has a little bit of brain, enough brain, if there is anything dodgy, this time Wilder will say immediately after the fight, to be honest, even if he loses, full stop, if Wilder loses, full stop, he will say, yo, I felt something in the gloves. Why not? Well, you got nothing to lose. If it comes back there wasn't nothing there, fine. Or do you understand what I'm saying here? So Fury's also got that pressure, potentially, of, oops, last time, because I don't care what no one says, I've got another video coming soon. If you look at the gloves, Fury, one potential conspiracy thing is that Fury was using the palm of his hand. And actually, the facts are, there's video evidence of Fury hitting Wilder with the palm of his hand. It's like a palm shot. Now, I'm not sure about the physics of it, because me personally, I'd rather dig my knuckle in. However, Fury doesn't dig anyway. He's always been a slapper. So when you're comparing, it's one thing comparing a Canelo dig to a palm. It's another thing comparing Fury's slap to a palm. Yeah? A Mike Tyson or a Alvarez dig, in my opinion, with a knuckle, is always going to be better than a palm strike. But Fury was never doing no knuckle digs. He was only slapping anyway. So a slap compared to a palm thrust, that probably is more powerful. So either way you look at this, it's all the pressure's built up for July 24th, in my opinion. And this final move here of bringing Freddy Roach in is a amalgamation of all of this information. You got AJ taunting. You know what I'm saying? This July 24th brought Fury a step closer. Don't forget that. The whole talk was Wilder. You beat Wilder. You fight AJ. I'm not being funny. They was talking about fighting AJ in December. So the man, as I've explained, the man who's been taunting the man who's been taunting Fury's nightmares for the last 6 years, the man who put into retirement, the man who sent him into retirement, yeah? You got to fight him in December. Wow! He don't want that. July 24th brings him a step closer, or brings him, literally, this July 24th was the penultimate step. You beat Wilder on July 24th, that's it, you're in. You're in with the retire-anator, yeah? AJ is the retire-anator. He'll just retire a whole bag of dons. Yeah, no doubt. He will retire the man who retires you. Which is, listen, that's what did happen. AJ retired the man who retired you. Do you think he wants any part of that guy? And that was 2017, by the way. AJ was much more green. Yeah? So you got that going on, that part of things. Fury don't want to get in there on July 24th. He wants to stretch this out. Which also makes sense why it was October. People were saying, why is it October 3 months? Now we know. He don't want this to be now. Combined with what's going on in training, he got turned over. Some next young don rode the legs off him. 1800s equestrian style. Yeah? We've seen the pictures. His all bust up. You've got Sugar Smith. Sugar Smith lost off the wagon. He ain't inspiring the same level of leadership. Ben Davison gone. The cat's out of the bag in terms of the gloves. You can't use goofy glove tactics no more. It's all too much for him. And Freddy Roach has been brought in as a last ditch attempt, because I don't care what no one says, yeah? Put it this way, you Fury goofies, do you think it's a coincidence that Fury, after all what's gone on, is bringing Freddy Roach in? I don't care what no one says. That don't make no sense. So right there, your camp's fine, especially given the circumstances. This wasn't the case where, well, the fight's been announced and Fury's brought a new trainer in. The camp was already done, essentially, wasn't it? You were supposed to be fighting on July 24th. So what do you mean you're bringing Freddy Roach in now? The facts are, yeah, if you know boxing, the fight's just been rescheduled, that's all. The fight's just been rescheduled. What do you mean you're bringing a new trainer in? What that says is another sign that the camp was awful and Fury's desperate. Fury needs to make desperate changes. And that's why he's bringing Freddy Roach in. Fury had a desperate camp. That's what it says. No other way does this make sense. All this is a rescheduling. Which means the date wasn't working right. Think about it. Let's take their initial allegations that, oh, it's C19. Well, if it's C19, what do you need Freddy Roach for? Explain that to me, please. innit? You was right there, so you was going to fight with Sugar Smith, all well and good, on July 24th. July 24th didn't happen because of C19, and now you're bringing in Freddy Roach. What's that about? That doesn't make no sense. And that, again, they've exposed themselves. What this really means is that the camp was shocking, and you need to bring a new trainer in, because you've lost. Fury had a good bond with Sugar Smith, but unfortunately, Sugar Smith, he is not a proper stock. He is not like the YB, the number 3 trainer in the world. He's not. Sugar Smith is not the number 3 trainer in the world like the YB, so he don't know how to conduct himself. He conducted himself like an idiot. And I hate to break it to you, man, yeah? People tell me, YB, you're not a top 3 trainer in the world. Oops. Whatever Sugar Smith was, guess what he weren't doing? You best believe it, if the YB ever has a fighter, you think you're going to see me in the club with my shirt unbuttoned, all chained up? How are you meant to lead a man into battle when you're acting messy with him? This is basic stuff 101. This is basic top 10 trainer stuff. It's not rocket science. And people want to tell me the YB ain't the top 3 trainer in the world. What planet are you man on? How about you start telling your mans to fix up? Because all this friend business, how's it working out for you? Your man Fury ain't got no confidence. He ain't feeling inspired. And that's another thing, by the way. A true leader, yeah? A true leader would have led Fury into battle on July 24th. Does that make sense? This even more makes sense now. Because really, yeah, a true leader, if Sugar Smith, yeah, had the kind of, what's the word? If Sugar Smith had the kind of, I'm not sure of the word, but trainers, for example, Mike Tyson would talk about Cus D'Amato, and he said, if Cus told me to bite, I'd bite. Yeah. Now, Cus and Mike had an extremely extreme relationship, but there's levels to it. There's a healthy balance somewhere in the middle. My point is, if Sugar Smith had a strong level of whatever that word is, I'm not sure the word, but if he had a strong version of that, guess what? July 24th would have come up, and Fury would have said, oh, I'm not really feeling it. But he would have been in, the trainer would have said, listen, Fury, I inspire you. Obviously, these are the words, he wouldn't say these words, but the principle would be that the trainer leads you into battle. You don't get to pick, oh, I don't feel like it today, oh, my training camp ain't been going right. If your trainer inspires you, like Mike said, if Cus told me to bite, I'd bite. If Cus told me we're fighting on July 24th, we're fighting on July 24th. And there are some trainers, the best trainers, they do have that level of relationship with their fighters, where they do what their fighter, regardless of how they feel. For example, another example using Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, one time, I think he had gonorrhea or something. He had some sort of STD, and his ting was burning. Yeah, but guess what? His trainers are from different stock. If you've been piping some next sticky bit, yeah? If you've been piping some next sticky thing, whose fault's that? Yeah? Fury. If you've been partying and bouncing off the walls on the table, whose fault's that? That's on you. Yeah? We've got a contract to deliver to the fans, and that's what Cus D'Amato said, by the way. And many trainers of proper stock have said over the years, the fans are your boss, if that makes sense. This ain't the case. The fans have employed your services on July 24th, and you will deliver them. Not, oh, well, we're going to sack it off in 3 months more. Because guess what? If you needed a 3-month camp, or better yet, if you needed a 5-month camp, what have you... It's not like you've been fighting, oh, but YB, he's had 3 fights this year already. No. What have you been doing for the last 6 months? If you needed a 5-month camp, you've had 5 months. That's on you. Us, man, this camp is fighting on July 24th. It's my job as a trainer it's my job as a trainer to have that level of dominion over your psychology. So pulling out and coming up and making excuses and being a weak mind doesn't even cross your mind. Does that make sense? The best trainers have dominion over their fighters to such an extent that Fury wouldn't even be thinking of jacking. even if sparring had gone wrong, all he would know is that boss man says I'm fighting on July 24th, so that's what we're going to do, and we're going to win, by the way. That's what the best trainers do. The best trainers don't jump on the bandwagon and encourage and embrace your sloppiness. For example, a great example actually, close to home. Is John Fury a perfect man? No. However, one thing recently I did respect. Recently, Tommy Fury was partying and whatnot. He came back to do his fight. And John Fury had told him, listen, you're going to Miami with Tyson, make sure you're training, because we've got a fight booked with Frank. Tommy Fury got back, hadn't been training, he'd been drinking. He was massively overweight and whatever else. Tommy Fury said to John, oh, John, I haven't been training, I haven't listened to what you've said, and I'm overweight and whatnot. And John Fury said that, listen, you've signed a date. You know what I'm saying? You've signed a contract. We're not pulling out of contracts and taking them, Michael. If you've been partying and whatnot, that's on you. We're fighting. And the fight actually went ahead. And that was his most recent fight. So, I mean, part of it was probably an excuse for why his performance was bad. But I do believe genuinely what he was saying. I think, and I do respect that. Like I said, John Fury isn't a perfect man. You might know my opinions broadly on John Fury. But no one's perfectly imperfect either. So, that for me would be That for me is a Hall of Fame characteristic of John Fury. Yeah, that's a Hall of Fame trainer characteristic. We are going ahead. And fair play to John Fury, because rightly or wrongly, I know that Tommy Fury wasn't fighting the best opponent, but either way, he inspired his son Tommy Fury to get in the ring. Tommy Fury could have ran off and said, no, I'm not doing it. But he didn't, because he had that respect, and John Fury had that dominion over Tommy Fury to get in there and get the job done. Now, Tyson Fury, which often happens with these new Fury's 2021 trainers, and also combined with the social media effect and the whole celebrity effect, Tyson Fury, much like Conor McTappar, when he was coming up, his training team had a level of dominion over him, and even he had a level of dominion over himself to get in there and get the job done. Now, he's brought all these sports science goofies in, and these fruity-tooty trainers and whatever else, and because I'm pretty sure there was, in Conor McGregor's heyday, there was a particular kickboxing trainer, I believe, and he actually ended up going to jail because he was too smoky. But that man there, I believe, he had that level of connection over McGregor. He left and it all fell apart, which is often how it goes. Same with Mike Tyson. Cus D'Amato left and it all fell apart, but listen, Tyson Fury has the opposite of that. Tyson Fury, he has Sugar Smith. Yeah, Sugar Smith. Never mind Dominion. I mean, partying, sniffing, bouncing, dancing, shirt unbuttoned, chains, eating. Just complete lack. Like I said, Manny Stewart would be turning in his grave. I mean, another example, Manny Stewart. When Manny Stewart had, what's his name? I've got his name now. When he had, what's the Prince Nassim. What happened there? Prince Nassim was overweight and not training and whatnot. But the fight went ahead on the date. And that's how things used to be. You're not letting these days, people pull out left, right and centre. I mean, we've seen people pull out and then pull out again. There's no shame today. But back in the day, yeah, back in the 90s, there weren't no just pulling out because you can't be bothered. You owe it to your bosses, the fans. It wasn't a case of just pulling out and taking the Michael just because you feel like it. These days, though, it's almost a standard in boxing. The standard is people will pull out and take the piss. That's the standard in boxing. Because, like I said, the level of trainers is poor. And that's what it comes down to. Because true trainers wouldn't endorse this kind of behaviour. Wouldn't accept it. It wouldn't be acceptable for you not to be in shape. And if you weren't in shape, why should the fans pay for that? Why should your bosses pay for that? In as much as you pulling out and changing the date. That's on you. No one didn't ask you to not train for 6 weeks until the last 4 weeks. No one didn't ask you to come in overweight and out of shape. No one didn't ask you to whatever else. That's on you. But these days, Sugar Smith, Clearly, jumping all over it. Yeah, C19, yeah, great. Yeah, pull out, yeah, party. Because what I don't understand is, Sugar Smith, you was all there for the party. Yeah? Someone please explain to me, Sugar Smith was all in the party. He weren't, never once did Sugar Smith say, Tyson, I think you got C19 tonight. I think we should take a day off partying. Tyson, I think you got C19 tonight. I think we need to button our shirts up. Tyson, I think you got C19 tonight. I think we need to take a few days off the sniff. No, he didn't do that. He was there for all of it. Now all of a sudden, you're doing the thing you're employed to do, boxing, and all of a sudden you're happy to go along to get along with the C19 excuse. What? Where were these excuses when you was in the club going hard? Where were all these excuses when you was in the cut? Yeah? Going hard in the paint. Where was it? Oops. Nowhere to be found. Now all of a sudden you want the fans to believe that there's some sort of... You know what I'm saying? But it shows you the level of training. And ultimately it shows you why Freddy Roach has been brought in. Because that bond... I'm not sure whether Dominion's the right word, but there's levels of Dominion. And guess what? Sugar Smith has... Initially, I believe at the start, it started looking good. It started off being, oh yeah, look, it's the Kronk. It's Manny Stewart, the Kronk. And looking at Fury's performance, I even gave him that credit, saying, yeah man, the Kronk. Because that performance, Fury going in there with that level of vigour, it looked like he was almost boxing, he was boxing to orders. He was boxing on a belief almost outside of himself. He was doing things that he doesn't normally do, which usually happens as a result of being inspired, as a result of a high-level trainer having dominion over their fighter. You might not believe it yourself, but the inspiration and the courage your trainer gives you enables you to perform that way, if that makes sense. 2-2s. That man who I gave all that credit, next thing you know, a year later he falls apart. He buys in, he himself becomes corrupted by the fame and the partying and whatever else. So now, Tyson Fury finds himself in a situation where the very man, Sugar Smith, who initially inspired him to his career best performance, all that respect and whatever else you want to call it, which got him into that mental state to perform that way in February 2020, that's all gone. As I've explained, that went when he was partying with a man and whatever else. You can't, again, great leaders, if you, any of you man who study, not that I've studied it, but from what I've heard from documentaries and whatnot, if you study great leaders in military and whatnot, they don't hang around and with all the troops, if that makes sense. They're not trying to be their best friend and be goofy and whatnot. Leadership, from a military point of view at least, is strict. When you trying to get a man to do something, give his life, or in the boxing sense, give a particular type of performance. Bearing in mind, Tyson Fury historically has always been quite defensive. So for Sugar Smith to inspire him to perform as he did in February 2020, being a goof and hanging out with the troops and whatnot, and being hella fruity, that ain't it. And that's why we find ourselves in the situation we are today, with Tyson Fury bringing in Freddy Roach. Because there's no way. I mean, I'm not being funny here. Look at, after February 2020, yeah, or in fact, going into and afterwards, February 2020, Tyson Fury, his attitude and his performance and his spirit and whatnot was the highest I've ever seen it. Yeah? And back in February 2020 or March 2020, if you'd have said to me, what are the odds of Tyson Fury bringing in a new head trainer? Because let's not forget this, Freddy Roach, he had no assistant trainer. He's not like AJ's Fernando Alonso, or whatever his name is. Yeah, them random dons, them sideman. Freddy Roach and a sideman. Freddy Roach, no matter what way you want to look at it, don't get me wrong. This whole news press release, oh, Freddy's been brought in as an assistant, yeah. Listen, we know what's going on here. Freddy Roach will never be an assistant. Freddy Roach is the head trainer, no matter what way you look at it. When Freddy Roach is brought in, it's because he's a head trainer. Yeah? The newspapers would love you to believe that, oh, no, he's just an addition. But like I was saying, back in March 2020, Be honest with yourself. What would you have given the odds of Tyson Fury bringing in another head trainer or bringing in Freddy Roach? In March 2020, for me, the odds would have been 0. Why? In March 2020, after that performance, seeing not only the performance, but seeing how Tyson Fury was like positively bouncing off the walls, in as much as he was saying, yeah, we've only had a 3-month camp. Imagine what we're going to do in the future. That's where they were at in March 2020. The world's our oyster. And then, obviously, over the last year, that relationship, that trust, that respect has devolved. Over time, it's eroded. All the partying together and whatever else. All the fraternising with the troops. And that's why Tyson Fury's found himself in a vulnerable mental state and begging a new head trainer to come in. Because there's no way, at the peak of their relationship, there's no way he would have been thinking it wouldn't even crossed his mind to bring Freddy Roach in. I'm not being funny, yeah? If anything, what do we know about the last time Fury brought Freddy Roach in? It's quite scary, really. What happened there? The last time Tyson Fury brought Freddy Roach into a camp, that was the last camp the person did. Am I or am I not right? What do we know? Wilder vs. Fury 1. Wilder vs. Fury 1, Tyson Fury brought in Freddy Roach. That was Ben Davison's last camp. Or last big fight. I think he may have done one of the small fights and then cut him off. But either way, it was more or less that showed the writing was on the wall. And I'll always stand by this. Bringing in someone the caliber of Freddy Roach is never a good sign. I mean, not being funny. Even in general, bringing in a new trainer, it's never a good look. Especially when he didn't need a new trainer in February 2020 to perform at how he did. Bringing in a new trainer always means the fighter's looking for something outside of themselves. They're looking for something they don't already have. It's almost like when a man or woman cheats or whatever. Obviously, you're trying to acquire something you're not being satisfied in your own relationship. Tyson Fury is not being satisfied by the relationship in his camp, bottom line, with his trainer. Don't get me wrong, he can party alright, yeah? Got no problem partying with his head trainer and whatnot, but that's not the point. When it comes to leading Tyson into battle, he ain't feeling inspired, clearly, and that's why Freddy's been brought in. So the only people who have got anything to blame on this one is Sugar Smith, yeah. And don't tell me, YB, that's not his name. I don't care. For me, his name is Sugar Smith. I don't need to know his name because he's a muppet. How about that? Sugar Smith has potentially, I think initially I even put him in my top 3 trainers based on that performance, based on how they changed, based on how he made Tyson Fury evolve. Yeah, I gave him my top 3 prematurely because he flew too close to the sun. He started feeling himself way too much. And he forgot his role. He forgot his place. His place isn't to be all in the video, partying. His role isn't to be fraternising with the troop. His job was to lead and inspire. You can't lead and inspire side by side with someone, if that makes sense. Leadership, traditionally speaking, it comes from a position of, It comes from a position of hierarchy. You don't get people below someone or on par with someone, giving someone orders or inspiring them to do something, really, do you? Normally it's people in power positions, like Mike Tyson and Cus D'Amato, where Cus D'Amato looks up to him. Like, who is there? Like Lawrence Okolie and Shane McGuigan. But anyway, listen, this for me will go down in the trainers' history books of one of the biggest F-ups in training history. How Sugar Smith went from February 2020 to where he finds himself now is truly a biblical fall from grace. And Tyson Fury psychologically is clearly shot to bits. This kind of behaviour on the back of the July 24th fight falling through is just, it's just wow. Nothing surprises me anymore, but it just shows how, what's the word? It shows how unstable and volatile and not explosive, but just shows how, what's the word? Messy. But no, I'm trying to think of a word that's more explosive than messy. But yeah, that's what Fury's camp is at the moment. Fury's camp and Fury's mind is just one big jumble sale. Because there's in every fighter's life, there's supposed to be, when everything's going wrong, yeah, there's supposed to be at least one pillar. Especially when you've got a fight date, and that pillar would be your trainer. But that pillar ain't there. That pillar's gone. That pillar went up in smoke with all the drinking and partying and everything else they've been doing.